Welcome back. In this module, we are going to see a few approximate methods to analyze frames and beams. Whatever methods we saw so far, that is displacement methods like slope deflection, moment distribution, stiffness method, and even force method like flexibility method. Now those methods are accurate within the framework of assumptions. What are such assumptions? Number one is equilibrium, number two is compatibility, number three is elasticity. So within the framework or constraints of these assumptions, those methods are no doubt accurate methods. However, there is a small drawback. They are efficient only when you have a single story, single span frame. If you have a multi-story, multi-span frame, then applying those methods become extremely difficult, impractical, cumbersome. For example, if you have a frame like this where you have two stories and two spans, you can readily imagine that applying flexibility method or moment distribution method will become extremely difficult and extremely time consuming for such a frame. So naturally, for such frames, for such practically existing structures, we should have some method where the results are approximate but acceptable. The error is acceptable. The error is not far from the accurate answer or accurate solution. So two of such methods we are going to see in this particular module, which are approximate methods. The error produced on analyzing our multi-story, multi-span frame using these methods is acceptable. So which are those methods? We have a portal method and then we have a cantilever method. In portal method, we are observing that if height is relatively less than the breadth, that is, if this vertical dimension is small and horizontal dimension is quite large, then it is preferred to apply portal method. On the other hand, if we have a tall frame, that is, height is quite large and breadth is small, then it is preferred that we apply cantilever method. So what are these two methods? We will see one by one, starting with what is a portal method. So there are certain assumptions made in the portal method. Number one is point of contraflexure is located at midspan of each beam. So it is assumed that the point of inflection will be located at the midspan of each beam like this. In reality, it may not lie at the midspan. In reality, there might exist even 2 points of contraflexure, like we have hogging moments at the supporting fixed column, sagging moment due to the span load near about the midspan, and then you may have 2 points of contraflexure. That is the general picture that we observe while drawing BMD for a frame. However, in this approximate method, in this portal method, it is assumed that midspan, that is exactly L by 2, at the midpoint of each span exists point of contraflexure for each beam. That is assumption number one. Second assumption, point of contraflexure is located at mid height of each column. So quite a similar assumption. Earlier it was for beam, now it is for column. So it is believed that exactly halfway through, that is h by 2 for each column in each story, there exists point of contraflexure. So the bending moment would change its sign from hogging to sagging or from positive to negative, that is hogging to sagging, sagging to hogging, however, or positive to negative, negative to positive, however, exactly at h by 2 in each story and exactly at L by 2 in each span. These are our first two assumptions. In fact, these two assumptions are common for both these methods. Then where do these methods really differ? That is in the third assumption. Please observe, most important, horizontal shear division among the columns. What we are showing in this diagram, the frame is subjected to some lateral load because of which there is going to be created horizontal shear. What the assumption is about, how is this horizontal shear divided, how is it shared, distributed in the columns? So the assumption is interior column takes twice as much shear as exterior column. This interior column will take double the shear as compared to the exterior columns. In short, if the exterior columns are sharing V, then the interior column will be sharing 2 times V. That is what I am trying to show in these diagrams. This is how I am representing the shear force in column. And then if this magnitude is V, this will be 2V and this will again be V. That is again another assumption so as to simplify the analysis, so as to have some convenient method which would produce results which are not entirely erratic as compared to accurate method results, acceptable results. Try to understand, eventually all this is going to lead to designing. And when it comes to designing, again you have safety factors for loads, safety factors for material. There is a lot of approximate work. Analysis is accurate science, designing is approximate science. So in any case, even if there is some error involved here due to our approximate analysis, in the designing, when you go for approximations, when you go for safety factors, whatever is the issue that might incur due to that error, that issue is nullified. The design science takes care of errors in this analysis. So even this approximate method is quite acceptable, Portal method as well as cantilever method. Now what is the logic behind saying that interior column takes double the shear compared to exterior column? So the logic I am trying to show here, that this frame is imagined to be made up of 2 frames like this. That is, at this column, if I make a separation, then there are 2 columns compiling which or combining which we are getting one central column. That is an assumption, that is an imagination. So if such is the case, this is V, this is V, this is V, this is V. When I combine, it becomes V, 2V and V. That is the basis of this assumption. And now when we use these assumptions, V, 2V, V, and all these midpoints are the points of contraflexure, solving this frame, analyzing this frame becomes extremely simple. It just becomes work of applying equilibrium equations. Simple static principle. You develop n number of FBDs, you apply sigma m, sigma fx, sigma fy, and you get all your shear forces and moments. It is so simple. So that is why these methods have become popular, because with the help of these assumptions, analysis becomes very quick, very efficient, very simple, and the results are acceptable results. They have acceptable amount of error. So this is the introduction to the Portal method, and now we will solve a numerical example so that the application of this method will be absolutely clear to us. So this is the first Portal frame problem that we are solving. It is multi-story, multi-span, and we are supposed to analyze this Portal frame approximately by Portal method. We have supports A, H, G as fixed supports. We have spans of 4 meters, 6 meters, column heights of 4 meters, 3 meters, and laterally there are 2 point loads given acting on joint B and joint C, respectively 50 kilonewtons and 30 kilonewtons. So this is the numerical example, and we are supposed to analyze this portal using portal method. What is the first assumption? The first assumption is that all the beams have points of contraflexure at the midspan. So that is what first of all I am marking here. This is point of contraflexure exactly at 2 meters, 2 meters. Another points of contraflexure 3 meters, 3 meters. One more in the beam BIF, one more here. Let me number these as 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are points of contraflexure. Point of contraflexure means where the bending moment changes its nature from sagging to hogging or hogging to sagging, and obviously at point of contraflexure bending moment is 0. Similarly, our second assumption is all the columns have their points of contraflexure at the mid height. So this is 3 meters exactly at 1.5 meters and 1.5 meters. I am marking points of contraflexure in 3 columns. Let me number these as 5, 6, 7. And then we have for the entire height of 4 meters at 2 meters and 2 meters, 3 more points of contraflexure, one in each column. So let's say they are 8, 9 and 10. So for joints we are using ABCD alphabets, and for points of contraflexure we are using 1, 2, 3, 4 up to number 10. Great. Then to begin with, I will imagine a section passing through points of contraflexure 5, 6 and 7. Let me call it section XX. And what I will do, I will try to generate FBD of the portion which is above section XX. That is, I will be drawing FBD of part 5, C, D, E, 7. So that is precisely what I have shown here. This is our FBD, and I am in this FBD using my third assumption of portal method, that is the interior column is carrying double the shear of the exterior column. That is, I am showing here horizontal shear force of V. This is also V. These two are exterior columns, and then here I am showing 2V, double the shear. Now mind you, this FBD is incomplete in the sense I have not shown axial force in this column and this column, because the equation that I am using is sigma Fx equal to 0, where vertical forces are not playing any role. At the same time, try to understand there will not be any moments here, because our section is passing through points of contraflexure where moment is 0. So when I say my FBD is incomplete, I have not shown axial force, vertical axial force in the columns, that's all. There are no moments acting at 5 or 6 or 7. At these points, moments are 0. There are axial forces and shear forces. Shear forces we have shown, and we are applying sigma Fx equal to 0 equation. Now since this is 2V, this is V and V, so totally leftwards force is 4V, rightwards force is 30 kilonewtons. Sigma Fx equal to 0 gives me 4V equal to 30. That is my shear force at points of inflection or points of contraflexure 5, 6, 7 are 7.5 kilonewtons each. Now when I say each, I mean V is 7.5 kilonewtons. 2 times V is obviously 15 kilonewtons. Okay, once these shear forces have been found, next what I do, passing through 8, 9 and 10, I imagine another section. Let me call it section YY. And then I am considering FBD of the entire portion which is falling above section YY. That means I am drawing FBD of 8 to C to E to 10, this upper portion. So nowhere I am involving these reactions or anything like that, because all that is going to become indeterminate. The frame itself is highly indeterminate. That's why we are resorting to approximate method, Portal method. So I am not considering the lower portion at all. I am considering the portion above section YY to draw my FBD, and observe this is that FBD. So the FBD is showing shear force at these columns. FBD is not showing axial forces in these columns, but actually they are existing, mind you. But since I again use sigma fx equal to 0, I am kind of avoiding showing those unnecessary forces. There will not be any moments at these points because these are points of contraflexure. And of course FBD is showing 30 kilonewtons and 50 kilonewtons. Now for this part, isolated and its equilibrium being discussed, when I apply sigma fx equal to 0, V prime, 2V prime and V prime will make it 4V prime. So total 4V prime leftwards is equal to 80 rightwards on that portion, 50 plus 30. That is giving me V prime is equal to 20 kilonewtons. That means this is 20 kilonewtons, this is 20 kilonewtons, and this will obviously be 40 kilonewtons, 2 times V prime. Once this is done, the gist of Portal method is over. Whatever assumptions we have learned in the Portal method, all that is covered in this discussion. What were those assumptions? Beams having points of inflection at mid-span, columns having points of inflection at mid-height, and exterior columns having half the shear or interior column having double the shear of exterior columns. So passing through these points of inflection, if I consider two sections, I first of all get my column shears V and V prime. Now remaining portion that you are observing here is nothing but isolation of portions of this frame, drawing FBD, considering equilibrium, applying sigma fx, sigma m, sigma fy, getting the answers, that's all. So if you are good at equilibrium, anti-clockwise, clockwise, leftwards, rightwards, upwards, downwards, and you got to be, because equilibrium is something we learned in first year mechanics. So presuming that you are excellent in equilibrium analysis, our numerical example is now as good as over, because the Portal portion is over. What remains is simple principles of statics. Let's see, what am I doing? What am I doing? I am drawing FBD of part 5C1. So you are observing 5C1, and I have deliberately shown a double line to separate it from my forces and lines and other distances, but you need not bother about drawing such a double line. You may just draw one L shape. So long as you are not getting confused, there is no issue. So just draw a single L shape, single line L shape, 5C1. What forces should I be showing on this L shape? Since 1 is also point of inflection, 5 is also point of inflection, bending moment there is 0, that means there is no M of 1 and there is no M of 5. There is only going to be H of 1, V of 1, H of 5, V of 5. Out of that, H of 5 is already known to us as 7.5 kilonewtons. 30 kilonewtons is already known to us. So what do I observe? I have only three unknowns, V5, H1 and V1. I have just shown all the positive signs or all the positive senses, like rightwards is positive and upwards is positive. That's all. Just one method I am following. I write here part C. Now when I say part C, actually I am going to say part 5C1. But I am naming these parts by the joint alphabets that we are using in each part. This I am calling as part D. This I am calling as part E, likewise. So these are all formal things, simple things. You need not worry about it. Call it part 5C1 or call it part C. That is up to you. So I have written part C. I have applied sigma Fx equal to 0. I get H1 is equal to 22.5 kilonewtons leftwards. I apply sigma m about 1, that is this joint equal to 0. I get V5 is equal to 5.625 kilonewtons downwards. And if I apply sigma Fy equal to 0, I get V1 is equal to 5.625 kilonewtons upwards. Now at this stage, after doing engineering mechanics, after doing mechanics of materials, after doing structural analysis 1 and in structural analysis 2 also, after solving so many examples, I am not going to explain how have I written Fx0, how have I calculated V5 using sigma m equation, how to apply sigma Fy equation. It is assumed that these are very preliminary things for you at this level. So you draw the FBD perfectly, show positive cells upwards and rightwards. There are no movements because we are having point of contraflexure to point of contraflexure portion isolated. Just apply 3 equations for 3 unknowns, you will get 3 answers. That's it. Once I solve this FBD, I go to the adjoining part, which is 1 to D to 2 to 6. So that is what you are observing here, 1, D, 2 and 6. What are the things known to me? Only that much is something which I want to make you alert about, that you have to be careful about. Please observe. This is H1. What we have found is, in reality, H1 is 22.5 kilonewtons leftwards. Though I started assuming this to be rightwards, actually it is leftwards. That is what my calculations are saying. Now if this H1 is leftwards, obviously equal and opposite rightwards I have to show here. That's why this is rightwards 22.5. This is V1. I have shown it upwards, but I will first confirm what is my real answer, actual answer. So I see that V1 is 5.625 kilonewtons, indeed upwards. Now if V1 is upwards here, equal and opposite I have to show on the adjoining part. So I am showing 5.625 kilonewtons downwards. These two forces are known to me. What else is known to me? I have to be alert about this. See, this is 2V, which is at the same joint that we are calling as 6. 2V, and V is 7.5 means 2 times V is 15 kilonewtons. So you are observing that leftwards 15 kilonewtons I am showing at joint 6. And then what remains to be shown? This is point of contraflexure 2. So there will be H2, V2 and V6. All again shown presumably positive, means rightwards and upwards. Then what do I do? To find out H2, I simply apply for part D, sigma Fx equal to 0. I get H2 is equal to negative 7.5 means 7.5 kilonewtons leftwards. Then I apply sigma m about 2 equal to 0. That is, I apply sigma m about 2 equal to 0 about this particular point. And then I consider clockwise movements negative, anti-clockwise movements positive, and I try to find my V6 answer. That V6 I am getting as 1.875 kilonewtons. I do get positive answer, means my upwards assumed sense is correct. And then I apply sigma Fy equal to 0. I am getting V2 is equal to 3.75 kilonewtons. Again positive answer, means this upwards is correct. So this was correct, this was correct. This I reversed in my calculations. Finally, I come to this portion which is point of contraflexure 2 to E to 7. I am calling that as part E and I am writing about part E. Even before going to the writing, let us see the FBD. This was earlier found to be 7.5 kilonewtons leftwards. If this is leftwards, its counterpart will be rightwards. That's why I have written 7.5 kilonewtons rightwards. Mind you, right now everything is in front of you. The code is already written, but how have I progressed over it? I had drawn this diagram. I wrote this and calculated this. I came to know that H1 was actually leftwards with value 22.5. Then using that, I have drawn this as rightwards 22.5, equal and opposite. Similarly, I drew this, I drew H2 rightwards, but I calculated and found it out to be leftwards. That's why after finishing this analysis in this part, when I start drawing this FBD, I know that this value is actually 7.5 kilonewtons leftwards, so I show equal and opposite 7.5 kilonewtons rightwards. Similarly, we have V2 here, which is known to us to be 3.75 kilonewtons upwards, so equal and opposite 3.75 kilonewtons downwards I have shown. This is known, this is known. How come this is known to us? See this Portal method assumption, exterior column carrying half the share of the interior column. So this was already known to be, found to be 7.5 kilonewtons. So this is also shown. There is only one unknown in this FBD. I just apply sigma Fy equal to 0. I get answer for V7 as 3.75 kilonewtons. Probably in the course of discussion, I am going fast. Particularly sigma m equation, I can readily see that these distances are 2 meters, 3 meters and 1.5 meters. Where from am I getting this? Obviously this is 4 meters, so half of that will be 2 meters and 2 meters. This is 6 meters, so half of that will be 3 meters and 3 meters. This is 3 meters, so half of that is 1.5 meters. So when you apply sigma m equation, use these distances, they are invariably going to be half of the actual original span. Try to understand, we are not discussing FBD of CD. We are not discussing FBD of D to E. We are discussing FBD of 5 to C to 1, 1 to D to 2 to 6 and 2 to E to 7. These corners. So, apply sigma Fy equal to 0. Get your answer. So the top Flory analysis is over. Now what I will do, I will come down and I will consider FBD of 538B. I repeat, 538B. This T joint, which is of course overturned T, but a T joint, and that FBD I have shown here. Observe. Only this one FBD I will discuss. Remaining problem I will expect you to solve. Observe this FBD carefully. V5, we have found that V5 is 5.625 kilonewtons downwards. If this is 5.625 kilonewtons downwards, its counterpart at the same connection 5 or joint 5, I am showing 5.625 kilonewtons upwards. If this is 7.5 kilonewtons leftwards as found here, equal and opposite 7.5 kilonewtons rightwards I am showing here. This 50 kilonewtons, please do not forget, you are most likely to forget this 50 kilonewtons. This you won't forget because this is the drawing with which you start. So you are very alert at the beginning. And then as you develop many FBDs and you get engrossed in the equations and calculations and terms, this is a lot of work actually. So when you develop this FBD, this opposite here, in the course of that give and take, you simply forget to consider external load. Please don't do that because then your answers will all go wrong. This I am showing as 20. Again, where from am I getting this value? From here. V prime we have found out to be 20 kilonewtons, so that I am showing here. See, it is happening at the same joint 8, that I am showing 20 here leftwards. And then again I have only 3 unknowns, vertical at A, horizontal at 3, vertical at 3. I just hope you are able to relate this T to this T. It is 5 to 3 to 8 to B. So it is 5 to 3 to 8 to B. That is what I am saying. Again, these are presumably upwards and rightwards. That is assuming positive signs. Then apply sigma fx0, sigma m about 3 equal to 0, sigma fy equal to 0. So that is what I have done here. I have written part B, but actually you may name it as 538B, or you may call it just B. Apply sigma fx equal to 0. I am getting H3 is equal to 37.5 kilonewtons leftwards. Apply sigma m about 3 equal to 0. You are getting V8 is equal to 31.25 kilonewtons downwards. I mean, you are getting negative answer, so I am changing the sign. Instead of upwards, it should be downwards. And then you are applying sigma fy equal to 0. You are getting V3 is equal to 25.625 kilonewtons upwards. Great. Once you have these values, you can draw the adjoining portion, that is 3 to 6 to 4 to 9. So that is what I have shown here, and I have tried to show in the FBD all the knowns. I have not shown unknowns, I have just shown knowns. This equal and opposite here, this equal and opposite here, this equal and opposite here. Now don't get confused. Though I have shown it rightwards here, actually my H3 is leftwards. Actually, in reality, on calculation, on determining. So if it is leftwards, its equal and opposite 37.5 kilonewtons rightwards I have shown here. Similarly, equal and opposite of V3, all these I have shown. Where from am I getting this 40? Of course, I am getting it from here. This is an interior column carrying 2V prime shear. V prime is 20 kilonewtons. So here I am getting 40 kilonewtons. Now I am yet to find V9, H4 and V4. Clearly you can see that there are so many forces around and so many distances to take care of. Applying particularly sigma m equation will be quite a headache. And that is the reason I have not shown arrowheads. I have just shown line segments to indicate that I am yet to find H4, I am yet to find vertical at 4, I am yet to find vertical at 9. What I will do instead, I will leave this incomplete and I will go to the last portion, that is this portion, 4 to 7 to F to 10 to 4. This is again a T joint, overturned T joint. So that's what I have shown here, 4 to 7 to 10 to 4. Check this, 4 to 7 to F to 10 to 4. So 4 to 7 to F to 10 to 4, that T joint I have shown. Equal and opposite of this here, equal opposite of this here. This is known to be 20 from here, V prime 20 kilonewtons. This is unknown, V10. This is unknown, H4. This is unknown, V4. But anyway, I have 3 unknowns and 3 equations. So, just one trick or hint I want to give here, that after drawing FBD for joint B, naturally you may decide to draw FBD for joint I, but on drawing, on reflections, you realize that this is not a simple task. So why to worry about complex system? You better go ahead and develop FBD of part F. Anyway, here also you are getting 3 unknowns in 3 equations, but a lot of forces. And here you are getting 3 unknowns in 3 equations, but comparatively simpler system. So, after B, you write part F, sigma fx equal to 0, sigma m about 4 equal to 0, sigma fy equal to 0, I get my answers for V10, H4 and V4. Once you know that your H4 is 12.5 kilonewtons rightwards, H4 is 12.5 kilonewtons rightwards, this H4 has to be 12.5 kilonewtons leftwards. Similarly, once you know that your V4 is 17.08 kilonewtons downwards in this FBD, this is 17.08 kilonewtons actually downwards. Though I have shown it upwards, it was an assumption. I got a negative answer for that. So if it is 7.08 downwards, equal and opposite I have to show in adjoining FBD, means it has to be upwards here. And then I find that there is only one unknown remaining here. So I show it as upwards. Let us say I am applying for part I, sigma fy equal to 0. I easily get this V9 is equal to 10.42 kilonewtons. Since I get a positive answer, the upward sense is correct. So what we have done, we have isolated C, D, E, B, I, F. These portions we isolated. We have drawn 6 FBDs. So 6 into almost 3. Almost 3 I am saying because here you require to apply only one equation. Here also you require to apply only one equation. So I may say 1, 2, 3 and 4. That is at 4 places you are applying 3 equations. That is 12 equations, 13 and 14. Nearly 14, 15 equations you are solving. But you are getting all axial forces and all shear forces at points of contraflexion. Once that is done, it is a very simple job to develop moment diagram and to express the shear forces and axial forces. Now how to do that I will show you. To develop the moment diagram and to mark or to show, to indicate shear forces and axial forces, what have I done? I have just redrawn the given frame, and then at each point of contraflexure, as we are aware of the shear, for example, for upper portion it is 7.5 leftwards, for lower portion it is 7.5 rightwards. So here I have shown leftwards above, rightwards below, 7.5. This is typical notation or symbol or way of representing shearing force. Similarly here if you observe, for left portion it is upwards, for right portion it is downwards. So I have shown above and below, upwards and downwards, and I have written 5.625. Likewise, choosing all these values, I have shown the shear, column shear as well as beam shear in each column and beam at the point of contraflexure. This is my first step. Next, please observe what am I doing. This is 7.5 leftwards multiplied by this distance, which is 1.5, will give me 11.25. That I have shown as my bending moment amount, 11.25. It is simply 7.5 multiplied by 1.5, that is 11.25. And since there is no load on this span, loads are only acting at these joints, so there is going to be linear variation because we have point loads acting at the joints. So I have linear variation 11.25, negative 11.25, because this is 7.5 rightwards multiplied by this distance. Try to understand, when I view from here, this reaction gives me a sagging moment. That's why this is positive. And this reaction gives me a hogging moment. That's why this is negative. And the same rule has been followed in all spans. Similarly, 15 into 1.5, 22.5 sagging, hogging. 7.5 into 1.5, 11.25 sagging, hogging. When I come to the next or the lower flooring, it is 20 into 2, 40 sagging, hogging. 40 into 2, 80 sagging, hogging. Try to view from here, so you will see the sag and hog perfectly. And finally 20 into 2 sagging, 20 into 2 hogging, accordingly it is 40. So developing movement diagram is also very simple. They are all going to be linear variations because we have point loads acting, and then simply use the values and the sense of shear force, sagging above, hogging below, and linear variation, you get BM diagram for columns. Similarly, I will draw BM diagram for beams. These blue colored lines are showing bending moment variation in beams. Same methodology has been used. 5.625 upwards into 2 meters, giving me 11.25 sagging. 5.625 into 2, 11.25 hogging. So positive to negative, linear variation. Similarly 3.75 into 3, 3.75 into 3 sagging and hogging. When I go to the next level or lower level beam, 25.625 into 2, I am getting 51.25 sagging, and 25.625 into 2, that is again 51.25 hogging. 17.08 into 3, again I will get 51.25 sagging, and 17.08 into 3 hogging, I am getting 51.25 sagging positive, hogging negative, linear variation. That is how I simply draw my BM diagram. And finally, coming to the axial force, looking at the FBDs, we are in a position to decide whether the axial force is tensile or compressive. For example, if you look at this force, this is 5.625 pulling. This assumption was wrong. We had assumed it upwards, but actually it should have been downwards. So this is a pulling force, this is a pulling force. That means here I have P is equal to 5.625 kilonewtons positive. Positive means tension. Let us see. Similarly, this force V8, if you look at the answer for V8, it is 31.25 kilonewtons downwards. That means this force is going to be a pulling force, and the value was 31.25. So again I am writing here P is equal to 31.25. I have not written any units because the drawing becomes too complicated. You can write bending moments in kilonewton meter, shear force in kilonewtons, axial force in kilonewtons. You can mention like this. So these two are in tension. Similarly, if you observe this force, it is 1.875, but pushing force means it is compression. So here I will be writing P is equal to 1.875 negative. Negative means compress. Similarly, if you look at this beam, this is the force 3.75 kilonewton. Again a pushing force means compression. So I am writing here P is equal to negative 3.75 kilonewtons. So it's a compressive force. Likewise, this force you are observing is pushing force, so there will be compression here. This force is also pushing force, so there will be compression here. This force is compressive, this force is compressive. You will be able to write for all beams and columns V10. If you look at V10, we have calculated to be 20.83 kilonewtons upwards, means pushing. So again here you are able to write P is equal to negative 20.83. So likewise, you please write all axial forces depending upon pushing means negative, means compressive, and pulling means positive, that is tensile. Just mention the values near each beam and column. Otherwise, as far as shear force and bending moment are concerned, you have actually written the values at the appropriate places. So yes, this is our problem of a multi-story, multi-spanned frame using approximate technique, that is portal method. In the next lecture, we will be seeing another method, that is cantilever method. I will not be solving one more problem of this because it is going to be just a repetition of the same problem. There is no variety of numericals possible, only the numerical values will change. The loading will change, the spans will change, the problem structure remains same. So you may on your own change these values slightly and may try to solve another problem for your own practice. Whatever we need to discuss under portal method, we have already exhaustively done it. Draw these FBDs carefully, solve these equilibrium equations carefully. That is most essential. And see that you are following how step by step we develop first the shears and then the movement diagrams, sagging, hogging, etc. So see you in the next lecture for cantilever method, another approximate method. Thank you.